Welcome to the Bass Hole Podcast, the show where we talk bass fishing without the filters, the fluff, or the tournament politics. And I'm your host, Bob, from Bob's Bassin' and Stuff. And this is my co-host, Ray. How you doing today, Ray?
Doing great, Bob. How are you?
Good. Hey, we're here to talk to you today about the scumbags that cheat in tournaments for fishing. What kind of lowlife do you have to be to want to cheat at a fishing tournament? To me, fishing is you against the fish, and the tournaments are how many of those fish you can trick into biting your lure so that you can do that more often than someone else. And if you can't follow the rule of that and actually catch the fish, what kind of mindset do you have to want to take that from the people that do it right? What do you think, Ray?
First of all, I don't like cheating at anything.
Right, me either.
I guess the biggest thing to me is, in the end, when it's all said and done, what did I really achieve? It's not as rewarding. If I went home as a winner and I actually cheated to win, I got a trophy. But in my mind, subconsciously, I'm always going to think, I didn't earn that. To me, it's not as rewarding.
It's not a reward at all because you didn't actually win.
That's right.
I think a lot of these cheaters aren't so much doing it for the trophy as they are either the recognition or the money.
Yeah.
And so they're taking that from the person who really should have won it. So it's like stealing. And I just don't, I personally, because I'm not that way and I know you're not, I can't understand the thought process in I'm going to do that. Most of the fishermen that compete in these tournaments aren't poor guys.
No.
So, to think, hey, I've got to do it for the money seems a little weird to me.
Yeah.
If you're driving a $40,000, $60,000 bass boat, what in the hell are you doing cheating at a tournament? Well, it ain't because you're financially strained.
No. But I'll tell you what I think. Some people are so competitive in their nature. It doesn't matter if they're racing their buddy down the driveway, 50-yard dash, or whether they're fishing, racing vehicles. They're just so competitive. Their ego says, I don't like to lose. In my opinion, losing's what makes you better sometimes.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to lose to learn what winning's about.
Absolutely. Or if me and you were having a competition, whether it's fishing, hunting, or whatever, I'm not going to go cheat to beat you.
Oh, yeah, I'd cheat to beat you.
I know you. So maybe we need to put you in the podcast.
Maybe we need to
add you to that.
Add me to the podcast. And, you and I are not tournament fishermen, so, we may not be the authority on all things tournament by any means. But at the same time, these guys are paying in to these tournaments. So there's some money that's going in, and if you don't make a payout, then you've lost your entry fee. But, if you're not willing to do that, if you can't lose that money, don't enter the contest.
That's right.
I mean, geez, it ain't that hard to figure out. Now, let's talk a little bit about the way people cheat in fishing tournaments.
Okay.
Probably the most famous one is the guys that were fishing on, I think it was Lake Erie, for walleye. And they stuffed weights and fish fillets down the throats of the fish to adjust their weight. And they were caught when the tournament administrators looked at the fish and said, that doesn't look like it should weigh that much.
Right.
And they cut the fish open and saw what they were doing. Now, those guys suffered some serious consequences. I think they did a little bit of jail time. Certainly, they were banned from all fishing tournaments. They lost their fishing license. They were charged with fraud. So, to me, the risk certainly is not worth the reward.
Yeah.
But I do think those guys had won tens of thousands of dollars doing this before they got caught, the way I understand it.
Right.
So that was probably the most famous one. And we've had other fishermen that's been caught doing the same thing in bass tournaments, putting weights in fish. I know there was some people that had molded some weights to go inside bass, and they got caught as well. Another thing that I've seen recently is kayak tournaments where they've been cheating. We had the guy that was taking Photoshop and photoshopping the same bass and changing where it was on the ruler, submitting it as different fish in the same and in different tournaments.
Yeah.
And he was finally caught when, the fish had the same markings on all his pictures. Another kayak tournament cheating thing is one that bothers me a lot more. Before they changed the rule, when they did change the rule, they could put their hand anywhere on the fish to take their picture that they were sending in to record their catch. And so this guy was chopping the tail off of a fish, which of course would kill it, and he would keep that tail. And when he caught another fish, he would hold his hand and put that tail over the top of the tail that the actual fish had to make it an inch or two longer and take the picture. So they changed the rule now where you have to put your hand further up the fish. You can't put it down there on the back end. But again, I mean, you mutilate a fish to do that, and just to cheat at a tournament. I mean, that's disgusting.
That whole thing kind of brings two things to mind. One is cruelty,
right,
for the animal,
right.
Fish. If you've seen on previous podcasts, we talk about having compassion,
right.
So you're hurting a fish that's supposed to be released,
right.
And the other thing is, I see that every time somebody cheats, or it gives the administrators something to think about. How do we correct this from happening again?
Right.
And the fisherman who's cheating should be responsible for that.
They should, and they should be charged for cruelty, and some of them have been, and that's one of the things that I found out on my research, that the ones that did that were charged with cruelty.
Well, and that's good.
Yeah. Another way of cheating in kayak tournaments is they'll doctor the measuring board.
Right.
So at least that way there's no harm to the fish,
yeah.
But still cheating nonetheless. And you're taking money that someone else has earned fairly.
Yes.
From them.
The good thing is it is creating more for the administrators to come up with ways that prevent cheating. Eventually, it'll be tough.
Yeah, it's going to get tougher.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, they should, and I think their original concept is, an honor system.
Yes.
But unfortunately, you get, and 99% of the fishermen out there would abide by that.
Of course.
Okay, and one of the most recent cheating scandals was the guy that was doing a monthly kayak tournament and had a kayak cutout that he was using in the back of his buddy's bass boat. The audacity of this guy cheating, Ray, is that he had the cutout in plain sight of everybody at the boat landing. And so the people at the boat landing saw the cutout, and some of them knew who he was, and they reported him. I mean, how brazen is it to go around with your cutout in the back of the boat where everybody can see it, but you're sitting there taking a picture in a bass boat, making it look like you're on a kayak measuring a fish?
I guess the guy wasn't thinking straight.
He wasn't thinking much at all, I don't think.
Yeah. If you're gonna cheat, I mean, let's
you'd think you'd hide it a little bit.
It wouldn't be as obvious.
Right.
But like I say, I really believe it comes down to ego. Nobody likes to lose at anything. I mean, we're all different. There's nothing wrong with being competitive. I'm as competitive as anybody. But at the same time, I'm okay to say, you know what, you're right, I was wrong, or you done it better.
Yeah, you beat me, it's fine.
Yeah. When you and I are out fishing together, you probably get a little bit more frustrated at the end of the day if I skunked you.
I probably do, yeah.
I don't mean to bring that up.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
It doesn't happen very often. Usually,
but I don't pout about it and kick cans or nothing like that.
Usually you beat me 10-1, so it doesn't matter. But it's the competitive nature in us. We're all competitive. It's a sport. But if you got to cheat to do it,
it's not real if you cheat.
It's not a sport anymore.
Right.
And it's supposed to. A sport to me is supposed to be fun, even if it costs money.
Right.
Because let's face it, anything to do with leisure sports is expensive.
Right.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah. So if you can't afford to be in a tournament unless you place in the money, don't get in the tournament.
That's right.
So that shouldn't be a motivation to cheat, because you should make that decision beforehand.
But I'll say it again. You wouldn't be successful if you didn't have to.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now. We're talking about fishing. You're not going to become a better fisherman if you don't do bad. Okay?
Right.
If you don't fail, if you go on 10 fishing trips and you catch your record every single time, it's going to get boring.
Right.
To me.
Well, I think one thing that losing or having bad days on the water is a lot of times you learn more from a bad day than you do from a good day.
It's incentive.
If the fish are just biting like crazy and you can go out there and do anything, you don't learn much about that day. But when the fish aren't biting and you struggle, you might look and say, okay, I did this wrong. I'm going to do something else different like next time. Or you may struggle the first part of the day and then you figure it out and you find out, okay, well, this works on the day with these conditions and these water temperatures.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
Okay. But I'm the kind of person, now, we don't think about this in the moment. You and I go out fishing. Sometimes we'll fish 8-10 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll catch nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
We've been skunked, there ain't no doubt.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about it. You're not thinking about this in the moment because you're just like, man, we didn't catch nothing today. But guarantee you, next weekend we hit the water, all week long we're thinking about it. We're excited to go because we're like, we're going to try something different.
Right.
We're going to try this different
We're going to go to a different spot. We're going to throw a different bait. Well, except for you're going to always throw the hula grub.
Well,
but of course you don't get skunked much with the hula grub, so that's kind of the moot point.
And I will throw something else every once in a while.
Right. But, you will.
But the thing
you'll definitely throw a drop shot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. To me, if I was to catch fish every time I went out, the next weekend we go out, I'm not as excited because I know I'm just going to catch fish.
Right.
I don't know. I just think
the struggles make the good days better.
Yes, because it makes you a better fisherman.
Right.
Or a better hunter, whatever you are, whatever your passion is. If you didn't have those off days or those struggle days, you wouldn't work harder to try to get better.
Right. All right, one last cheater we'll talk about. This one was a professional angler in Bassmasters. And we're not naming names today, not because we have any sympathy for these guys, just because it's all over the internet. If you want to find out who these guys are, it's easy to look up. I don't care about their names. I don't want to help make them famous or infamous even. But there was an angler that was on the circuit that was accused, allegedly, of taking bass and keeping them in some kind of a barrel. And they'd cut a hole in the top of the barrel where it had flaps on it, so the bass couldn't get out unless they were pulled out. And he would actually flip a jig into the barrel, and the bass hadn't eaten in days, so they were starving. So they would eat the jig, and he'd catch them and pull them out. And it was never officially proven or charged, but the dude was banned, and he disappeared off the face of the earth, more or less. So everybody pretty much just assumed that all the rumors were true. And another rumor about him was he had some brother-in-law or some kind of relative that was scuba diving below piers and helping him get the bass out of the barrel. So either way, he's probably one of the most notorious ones, but there was no proof, no charges that went on record or anything like that, so it's hard to say 100%. But again, just, he had gotten famous for bass fishing, and then to find out that's how he was doing it, just disgusting. So anyway, we just wanted to touch base, since cheating right now is a big deal on the internet. You see a lot of fishing tournament cheaters. The guys that fail the polygraph test and stuff like that, I don't know about all that stuff. They're not admissible in court, so I don't know how much you can count on those. I'm not going to try and judge anybody that failed a polygraph. That could be something that maybe wasn't correct. I think some of the rules they have in bass fishing about information sharing, some of that stuff's a little off the wall, a little crazy. Guy comes up to you while you're pumping gas and just blurts out he's been catching fish at a certain place. That's hard to control. I'm not sure how all that plays out. To me, somebody that fails a polygraph test, that punishment shouldn't be anywhere near as bad as someone that mutilates a fish or alters a measuring board, or anything like that. Stuff weights down a fish. The sharing information thing, I'm kind of iffy about that whole thing anyway. I know why the rule is there, but back in the day, I don't know that was paid much attention to, and it didn't hurt the tournaments back then.
Yeah.
Those penalties probably should be much less. The ones that do the kind of cheating we talked about today, those guys are scumbags. They lack morality. They lack honor. People like that, just even in society, not just in fishing, they're people I try to avoid at all costs. Well, I think mainly because there's money involved. It should be treated as stealing because that's what it is.
Right, and so they should be fined.
They should be fined. They should probably do a little bit of jail time, 30 days, or at least a bunch of hours of community service. Yeah. They should be banned from fishing any tournaments if they mutilated fish or had some kind of cruelty to fish or brought invasive species into to certain lakes. Then they should be banned probably permanently.
Yeah, that's right, and they should be fined, and you should have it took from you and give to the rightful person who won.
Right, and that's I haven't even looked into that, is whether the person who rightfully won the tournament was ever rewarded with the money that they had lost, and probably not. It's probably not how it works.
Well, in summary for me, if you have to cheat to win, you're not really winning.
No.
And to me, it's not rewarding to know that I've done something like that. Even if it were me and you out there fishing just for fun, who caught the most fish? Well, I knew deep down if I did something while you weren't looking, I'm not going to feel good about it. I mean, and all for what? Ego. So if you're out there cheating, think about it. Is it really worth the consequences? We've all learned that through life. Certain things aren't worth certain things.
Well, not only that, when they get caught, besides all the punishment and stuff like that, now it's plastered all over the internet.
Yeah. So
now you've got a reputation that goes beyond fishing that's going to be affected by this.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Bass Hole Podcast. We hope you have a great time. We're going to be back on the water before too awful long. Till then, keep bassing. Thanks for tuning in to the Bass Hole Podcast.